Welcome back to our Fruits Basket podcast. I'm Kyo Anime, and my co-host is French Jessica.
Hello.
And we're back with episode 5 and 6. So first things first was like, obviously, the very beginning, I was like, oh, we skipping around, like
Yeah,
very
I don't
random.
really mind skipping around too much.
Yeah, it's okay. The fifth episode was called "I Mean You Know Right," and yeah, it starts out with like Aya and Mine, and we kind of just find out that like Mine knows about the curse, which
Mhm.
and I remember like my friend who's watching it with me, like she didn't even like because it was so like fast in the first part of the episode, like she was like, "What even happened there?" Like,
They
like
were zooming through it, but I think it was important kind of showing how the relationships are kind of can't really move on because of the curse.
yeah, and it's kind of showing that with this as Hattori and Mayu, where like she wants to go on a trip, and Hattori's like, "No, I can't go anywhere," and I'm like, "Poor guy." Then they had the Yuki and Mochi, which I thought was way too fast, but because it was already like Yuki like was thinking about telling her about the curse, and I think it was funny though when Kimi came in.
Oh my gosh, she zoomed.
Yeah, Mochi like with Sonic, and she just uh, and then after the opening, we have a little bit of Akito, Shigure, and Kurano kind of scene where, well, first it's just Akito and Shigure, and Shigure is pretty much telling her like you gonna just stay cooped up in here, like, and think things are gonna change? That's not gonna help. And then Kurano comes, and it gets all awkward, and so Shigure walks away.
Oh my gosh, the Shigure Kurano stuff is always like, oh my god.
But Akito pretty much is like saying how like she hates Shigure, and then I liked after that how Shigure like kind of pretty much sums up like I feel like the whole like episode, like what happens next in a way. He says like how people move on and emotions will move on, and things change.
Mm.
Pretty much is what he says, and then we get into Momiji, which was pretty much the rest of the episode. Was just
Yes, Momichi, he looks so good.
my son. Anyway,
Also, I don't know if you watched sub or dub, I forget.
so
Yeah, I didn't watch the dub or anything yet. I probably should, but the sub, his voice actress did really well in like changing her voice to
yeah,
sound more masculine.
yeah. And they
I
both
think that's like the same person.
Yeah, I think it's the same person. I thought it wasn't,
Mm.
but I only heard one line, so I was like, "Oh."
Yeah, I
But
was like not sure at all.
and but yeah, Momiji like comes up. Well, it's just a random person at first, and like all the girls in the hallway are like, "Wait, who's that?" And I remember when I read this scene, I literally thought it was a new character. And
It's just so late into the series.
yeah, so I thought it was a new character and sitting on Toru, and I was like, "Stay away from Toru. She has Kyo." Like, Momiji, and I was like, "Whoa!" So yeah, and but of course he still has his bunny backpack, and it's like, "Let's go get ice cream." So it's still
Yeah.
Momiji.
And um, I don't know where I would fit this thought in, so I'll just say it right now. I really get the sense with this episode, like that time really is moving forward. I guess because of Momiji and seeing all the couples, it really
Mhm.
did feel like almost like the whole show they were stuck in like a time loop, but like a purgatory where everything was just the same as always, and now it feels like things are finally changing.
Yes, exactly. I feel like this whole episode, it felt like a whole just like the sense of like moving forward, and I was gonna talk about it later, but that's really why I love Momiji as a character because I always feel like what he goes through is pretty much almost like the whole summary, like different lessons throughout Fruits Basket.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, it's so good.
and then like he like walks out with Toru, and I liked how he talked about how like when he was happy he grew, but he like could get away with things when he was little.
Mhm. Yeah.
uh, he was reflecting of when he was smaller, and then he like tells Toru, but I'm a man too, and like tries to like make a move on her in a way, but and I remember I was watching that and I was like, ooh, Momiji. So But then they see Yuki and Haru, and as they're walking over, Haru's like, "Those two just look like a doting couple." So,
I really do.
but then they want to go like eat at Shigure's house, and oh, that's when they have the ice cream cake where Toru like flips out about ice cream
Yeah, it's nice that they can still do these small cute moments in between the pain and the suffering.
cake. But then we get like the small scene of Kisa, Hiro, and Kyo, and Hiro is it's so funny. He's like trying to not be like snobby and like
Yeah, but he's just coming across as super arrogant.
yeah,
He's so much better than Kyo, it's so funny.
yeah. And Kisa's like the whole time trying to say hello to Kyo, which is so cute.
I know! So
and
cute.
and then once they like say hello and she's like, "Oh, he really is a nice guy," and they're like, "Of course he's nice to Toru." And he was like, "Yeah, you're right about that." And I kind of like wish they had this part, but I kind of see why they didn't. Where like I know in the manga, they originally like they had everyone was there and like
Mm.
Toru went to cook or something, but then a hero like brought up like, doesn't Kyo like Toru? And they're like, duh. And he's like, then he brings up how like he's the cat. But again, this scene would have been after like episode 6, where like Toru found out everything about the cat and everything with Shigure. So it kind
Yeah. I mean, it's like it would be nice to have that, but it's like I don't imagine watching the show as an anime only. You feel like
of
you're it's not like you feel like you're missing anything. I think that just since we read the manga, we're like, "Oh, we should have this."
yeah.
If you pretend that the anime is its own thing and don't even think about the manga, it's still really good.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, so I'm still enjoying it. I just sometimes go,
Yeah, I know a lot of people on Twitter are like freaking out,
yeah, I've seen that.
you know.
I'm like, as long as it still tells the story, I'm like, it's fine.
Yeah, I've been like getting I think the episode's good because I haven't read the manga in so long, and then I'll see people on the timeline and they're all freaking out. I'm like, "Oh god, I'm freaking out now because they're freaking out." And then Tracy, I don't know if you know her, I she always has to calm me down.
I know.
'Cause she's like, "It's gonna be okay." I'm like, "They're doing fine," and I'm like, "You're right, Tracy, you're right."
Like, I don't like knowing what's gonna come next and stuff. It's like
Oh yeah, did you see the preview image? Okay, I won't go too into it, but yeah.
let's do spoilers then.
Yeah, at the end, we'll talk about that.
Yes. Then we have like a small Shigure Hattori scene, and like it's pretty much Shigure talking about his like dream, and Hattori asking him to be nicer, like everyone always to Akito, like everyone always asks him that, and then he does the whole like, "Oh, but I'm not looking to be her father" line.
Yeah, for real. He sounded like a whole sociopath in that scene. He was like, "Yeah, I don't care about parents' love. I don't care about the." I'm like, "Dude, what?"
I know, but the whole father thing, I feel like comes up later more. So I
Mm. Yeah,
like
you're right. You're right.
yeah, but I understand like knowing why he said that because I know what comes later. So right,
Yeah,
like what if you're just
and it also makes sense they said to Hattori because Hattori acts very fatherly towards Akito.
yes, yeah, exactly. But anyway, so well, not the whole gang, but most of the gang's at Shigure's house, and they're all wanting they want Momiji wants barbecue, and, and then Haru does the like where he's like, we can just burn this table, like it's no
Yeah.
or whatever. So they decide on curry, but and then and then they're like, where? Or Toru says like, where's Kyo? And he's up in his room. So Momiji's like, I'll go get him. And then we have like the Kyo and Momiji like I don't know how to explain it, but pretty much he just I wouldn't say threatens Kyo, but he kind of like put
Warns him.
yeah warns him and says like, oh, maybe Toru will accept my proposal now, like and I've always thought like I honestly believe yes, Momiji had feelings for Toru. Some people don't,
Yeah.
but
I mean,
I also think he was like pushing him too because it was like again, Momiji's a very like moving forward kind of characters we find out, where Kyo's always, like, feeling like he's gonna be stuck.
Yeah, Kyo is more Kyo, it's so funny because he's, like, one of the most flawed characters. Like, he just
Yes.
needs some like, I feel like I love him, and I think that one of the reasons is he's so human, like, he just needs to get his shit together, man.
Yes.
One of his biggest things is he either, like, he doesn't move forward or he runs away.
Yeah.
He's, like his biggest character thing is, like, he's always running away from stuff.
And he always runs away. Or yeah, like you said, like I always think he knows he's gonna be like in the cat cage or whatever, so he just doesn't do anything to move forward because he's like, oh,
Hmm,
I'm stuck anyway. So
yeah.
so I kind of like the dynamic of that, at least with Momiji and Kyo, because like yeah, we have like Momiji who's had like all this crap happen to him in his past, but he's like, I'm not want to get rid of my memories. I'll keep them and try harder. So then Shigure comes home and they're making their curry, and he does like the creepy thing, but it with the Toru. It,
Uh,
it's creepy, but
Bushigiri.
not romantic. It's like
Yeah,
it's more about the curse than anything. Like he just says like, what if like Toru, like he dreamt of Toru instead of Akito,
yeah, or
and
somebody like Toru. He should
yeah,
have been he's talking about how he's kind of like a twisted person, how maybe somebody kind like her would be the type of person he should be with, but instead he's, like, pining after the evil Akito.
yeah. He's just like, why am I in love?
Yeah.
So
Like, I get his sentiment. I'm just like, "Back away from Toru, dude. Stop whispering in her
yeah.
ear."
Then we have Akira shows up and kind of just recaps how he told Akito like that she's gonna be like loved and she's the chosen one and never be lonely her whole life. And then it's like it flashes back to Haru and when he like left to go see Reen. And then like it shows the core break and Akito like wakes up and
It's not Haru that's cord broke.
exactly it's Momiji. And I like knew it's Momiji, but also when I watched it, I was like, that should have been Haru. Like, and we get like Rakito comes to Momiji at like a night, and she's just pretty much scared. Momiji's gonna leave her, and Momiji's just because it just happened, so he's just still confused, and he's like wondering why he was so tied down to this like weak person, and
Because she's, like, looking, like, pitiful.
yeah, but he does like I think the right thing where he's just like, okay, let me like think about this. I'll talk to you tomorrow. so
Yeah.
so then the next day at school, Haru notices that Momiji's something's different about him, and he doesn't really know what. And that obviously that's because his curse broke, and like so all of the zodiacs are kind of like what with him, but they don't-
Yeah.
then we like see Momiji's on the roof of the school and he's looking like in the window and Kyo comes by and I think Haru like asks him about Momiji and he like this has a small answer, but then like Toru gives him like the hard eyes when he passes
Yeah.
and then Momiji's just like, oh, and I'm like, yeah.
I feel so bad for Rumichi.
And I liked how he was on the roof because it like seems like he was like because we know that's where Kyo usually would go. So it seems like he was
Mhm.
talk to Kyo, like he was there for a reason, kind of.
Yeah, probably.
But yeah, so then Kyo and Momiji talk about pretty much Momiji's like, "Oh, what if I told you my curse was broken?" Just kidding. And,
Yeah.
and Kyo's just like, "Bro, don't kid about that." Um oh, and then he talks about how if Kyo's curse was broken, Toru would be much happier. And that's when he uses a line for the episode of, I mean, right? And it's pretty much like him saying, like, Toru likes you, right?
Yeah, and Kyo doesn't wanna think about that because
Yeah.
he, like it's a lot of reasons he doesn't wanna think about
Yeah.
that.
For now, it's because of him getting locked up.
Yeah. I could write a paper on why Kyo doesn't want Toru to like him.
Yeah, exactly. Um,
Like, this shot, I could take this shot, take a screenshot, and then write a whole paper about that screenshot
I'm
and be
starting
like, "I don't wanna know."
Yeah, then Momiji goes to Akito, like, later that night and pretty much just tells her, like, "I can't always be by your side, like, I'm gonna have to move on from this," and
Yeah, he's not gonna be like Kureno.
exactly. And Akito gets all mad about it and slaps him, and, he pretty much just stands there while Akito's, like, hitting him.
Yeah.
And, but then Akito, like, says, like, "Oh, well, you have no one to go back to, like, your parents don't even love you," and I'm like, "Ugh, don't say that."
Real, you're one to talk, Akito.
Yeah. And
So cool though, because whenever she's talking to Momiji, it's like she's talking about herself. She's projecting onto him
mhm,
all of her
mhm,
own fears about what
mhm.
if the bronze were gone, and Momiji, like, realizes that.
Oh, yeah, I love how Momiji, like, every time Akito is going crazy, he literally will be like, "Let's talk about it," or "Can I help you?" You know, like, or something.
I know, I love him.
And, like, usually, Akito's just like, "Nah, get out of here," which is pretty much what happens at the end of this, but,
Yeah. It's
um,
like she's, almost kind of affected by what he said, at least I hope so. I don't know.
yeah, I mean, she was thinking.
I was shook.
Yes. But then, like, yeah, it goes to, like, a scene where Momiji's walking to school, and he decides to go by, like, his mother's house, and they're, like, just chit-chatting, like, "Oh, how are you?" And then she's like, "Oh, we're gonna go on a trip, this summer," and it's like, "Oh, is your family gonna go on a trip?" And, uh,
Aw.
might have cried.
There's something about that, especially I think that Momiji's story, like, especially if you're a kid or a teenager reading this, I think it hits harder. I don't
Mhm,
know if, this happened to other kids when they were younger, but I had, like, a fear of, like, losing my family, like, especially my parents. Like, I would
mhm.
have nightmares where they would just be like, "I don't love you anymore." Like
Oh my gosh.
that was, like, a fear of mine, so stuff um like Fruits Basket, like Momiji's story, like, freaked me out. I was like, "Oh my god, this is so messed up. What if this was me?" And it's still sad as an adult, but I think being a child and reading it is, like, even more so. Same with stuff
Mhm.
like, if you've ever seen Coraline, like, the part where her parents get taken away,
Yeah, yeah,
like, that stuff just hits you, especially when you're younger.
yeah. And so I think that I don't remember, like, I've watched this episode, like, at least 3 times, and I've cried at least 2 of the 3, but, like,
Aw.
I don't remember when the first time was I cried, but it's always, like, the end of Momiji, but, like, the
I
last time
know, Momiji just be that one character.
yeah, the
Makes
last
me
time,
cry.
like, the second time I watched it was more of, like, "I just love him so much," kinda cry instead of sad. It was just like, "Yes, my son," at the end. He then, like, says how, like, to Akito, like, "Oh, you can't tell me, like, that's it," or he's like, pretty much says, like, "How do you not know there's happiness for me, like, coming, or waiting for me?" Is what he says, and
Hmm.
in other words, he's gonna keep moving forward and he says, and he'll find his own family, and then someday, that family, his family will, yeah, they'll go on a trip. So he's like, "Yes, we are gonna go on a trip." So,
Yeah, but it's also like he's going on a trip through life. Uh,
yes. Metaphor there. But yeah, so I just really liked, I wrote down how, like, really literally, like, that whole, like I said, the whole, like, episode and this Momiji as a character is, like, how Fruits Basket always talks about, like, new beginnings, and, like, I also like how, like, he cares for others, but also, like, makes sure to, like, think of himself, which is, like, huge, again, Fruits Basket, like, oh, like, with Toru, she needs to think of, be a little more selfish, or, like, but also cares for others. So yeah, that was the Momiji episode, and I waited so long for that.
yeah, just to see grown Momiji.
Yes. Yep. Now we're gonna do the Hunger Games, and so last time, this I kind of have the screen of what happened a little bit. Um, we had Machi, Ritsu, Hattori, Uo, Haru, and Momiji. Oh my gosh, Momiji are all dead.
And I thought Machi would make it a little farther.
Yeah, and then Toru, I remember she has 1 kill. She killed Hattori, and then
Yeah.
then Kisa, Kureno, and Shigure have 3 kills because they were like the gang, like that.
Ganged up.
And I don't remember, like, who Aya killed, but apparently he has 2 kills. So, Ritsu, I don't remember. But,
Yeah, I don't know.
so that's the, so yeah. I
Who
know,
are you betting on again?
it was Hanajima and Kurino.
Okay. And I have Hiro and Kimi.
Yes. So, let me go back to the fallen. So those are the people that just died. And so we're gonna do a night, and then a day, and then like the fallen again. So we'll just, when someone dies, then we stop, pretty much.
Yeah.
So, so this is the night 1. Kagura sets up camp for the night. Rin tries to sing herself to sleep.
Huh.
Kakeru starts a fire. Not scary, kind of. Um, Hiro, Yuki, Shigure, and Hana sleep in shifts. Ayame tends to Kazuma's wounds. Aw, that's nice.
Oh.
Kyo looks at the night sky, like always.
Yeah, for real, that's just him.
Nao attempts to start a fire, but is unsuccessful.
Of course.
Akito and Mayu talk about the tribute still alive. Interesting. Kyoko and Kimi sleep in shifts. Toru lets Kisa into her shelter. Aww!
Oh, I knew. I was like, oh, when I saw that.
And Kurino tries to treat his infections. Oh, he got infections. Uh-oh. Alright. Day 2. Hiro receives a fresh food from an unknown sponsor.
Oh yeah. Come on, Hiro, you can win this.
Nao explores the arena. Kyoko travels to higher ground. Ayame searches for a water source. Hana and Kakeru track down and kill Kagura.
Oh my god.
That's a scary. Hana and Kakeru. Well,
Yeah.
and then Kagura's pretty strong, so I don't know.
Hana used her waves.
Kyo
You know what? Realistically, Hana would win.
Kyo chases Kimi.
No!
I don't understand, but okay. Kazuma, Kisa, Rin, and Yuki raid Mayu's camp while she's hunting. Akito travels to higher ground. Shigure discovers a cave. Kurino receives an explosive from an unknown sponsor. Ooh. Toru is pricked by thorns while picking berries. I think we only had one person. Yep.
Yeah, poor Kagura.
Kagura. That's okay. We weren't betting on her. Oh gosh.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is that, and we can go ahead and go on to the next episode. So now we're on episode 6. It was so foolish, and it started off with it was Rin and Toru and Haru and Yuki, and like
Yeah. I'm a Torin shipper.
yeah,
I mean, I ship Kyoru most, obviously, but I could, like, in another alternate universe, I would like Rin and Toru to get together. So I just love any scene they're together. It's so cute.
yes, I was thinking about that for this episode. That was like there might be some parts that you weren't so happy about because of like you were like because they were together, but there were some things I feel like Rin would have done.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
so it was like I literally was like I don't know how Francesca's gonna feel about this.
Yeah. I mean, it was okay. It was alright. Also, I was on Twitter and people were talking about how they ship Kagura and Rin. Like, I never thought of that, but that's kinda cute.
Yeah, that I don't know, I was like I noticed something when I was comparing the manga and whatever about them, and I was like, hmm. So pretty much Toru's like crying and and she's embarrassed, and Haru's giving her like this stare of I'm so happy you have friends,
Yeah.
and she's at Cosmo's house, so because she didn't want to go to the hospital or stay at the Somas, which I don't blame her. Um,
For real, she needs to stay away from them.
oh, then we have like Toru and Kyo and Shigure is just sitting. He's just sitting there, but Toru and Kyo are talking, and he says how like she thinks that Rin's gonna move in with Cosmo, and then Toru's all like, "Don't worry, like he's you're the only one for him. He lives for you, Kyo." Like
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah, like he just says how Cosmo will be less lonely with Rin living there. And then Toru's obviously like thinking, oh, it's because he already thinks he's gonna get locked up and like, yeah.
Yeah.
Then Yuki comes in and he talks about how it's Kyoko's anniversary for her death. And then Kyo's like, yeah, I can't go. And Toru's just like, okay. And then we get the Sugure and Rin part, which was pretty much him telling her that Rin used her and that she didn't know how to break the curse. And then though we get like the big, I don't know, it's kind of a big deal of like him just saying, yeah, the curse is gonna break on its own, and that
Mm.
they're like the final banquet, and of course Reen's kind of like, like, don't just be, you better be like serious about this, like.
Yeah.
and and he's just like, oh yeah, it'll break eventually, and then Toru like, all of a sudden shows up and they don't see her there, and that's when she pretty much says like, eventually, like, isn't good enough, like we,
Yeah, it's gonna be like if it keeps going at this rate, it's gonna be like years and years.
yeah, and so she's like, and then that's kind of when she's pretty much just slips up tongue and says like, it has to be spring because of Kyo, and she's like, oh snap. Oh, she asks like Shigure how he knows that's gonna break or whatever, and he says like how all the zodiacs were alive at once, and I've known that, and that's never happened before. But I didn't know that, but I didn't realize how like young he was when he realized or thought of that.
Yeah, it was like a teenager.
Yeah, he was like a teen when he was already thinking this, so I was like, oh wow. Obviously, he talked to Kurono, and then he tells Rin how Kurono's curse is broken. And then he goes into like, even though all of this is happening, like Kyo is still gonna be locked up. Then he talks about Kyo's uh he's playing the cat's role in that all of the zodiacs, like if you ask them to help, they won't because they all just look down on him and say, at least that's I'm not him.
Yeah, it was so messed up. Poor
So
Toru. Her voice acting was so good when she yelled at him like Shigure.
yeah, I watched the dubs today because I usually watch the dub later, and she was really good when she like pushes him because so Tora pushes him away when he's being all like sinister. Then Shigure is just like asks if he made her mad, and then he says like, "Do you want to save Kyo?" And then he like kind of trails off like, "Is Kyo?" And then she like runs away, and and then on the dub, instead of like, is Kyo your or whatever, he says like, do you love or something like that, and then she runs away.
Mhm.
But so Toru is like now walking on the street and crying, and like she pretty much remembers, this is like sad, this is when we start getting to Toru's past a little bit more.
Mm.
And she remembers like when her mom died, and like how everything just seemed to her and everything else just seemed to disappear, and it shows her like in the empty room. And that's when her grandpa started calling her Kyoko. How she's breaking, like she knows like she's kind of breaking her promise of like having her mom first in her heart because she's thinking of Kyo. So, and of course, as she's thinking of Kyo, here comes Kyo, and
Yeah.
pretty much just eases her, tells her it's okay to cry, and pats her head like he always does. But then I guess it's the same day. I don't know because I guess it was before he saw Toru crying, maybe because then Kyo's at the gravesite. I guess he went by himself, and he meets
Mm.
Toru's grandfather. His back went out, so he's just
Yeah.
waiting for his
He
ride.
was like, "Are you okay?"
Yeah. But then we find out why um, he calls Toru Kyoko was because he was afraid Toru would like break, and that it was a way to keep Kyoko alive. And
I think he could have had a better way of keeping her alive. But,
they,
it's the thought that counts.
yeah, I don't know, the name thing was a good idea, but oh well.
Yeah, for real. Especially with how much pressure Toru's already under.
Yeah.
Like, not living up to her mom is another thing she needs to do.
But then he also explains why Toru talks the way she does, which is, like, very polite in Japanese, or I guess you could say.
Yeah, Keiko, I believe, is the dialect she uses.
Yeah, and, it's pretty much because she's copying her dad, Katsuya. Then he talks about how people, like, said that she might not even be like, at the funeral, people said that she might not be his daughter because she looks nothing like him, and all these negative things, and it kinda goes back to, like, made Kyo go back to when his mom died and, even his father was telling him, like, horrible things, and, like, they just
Mhm.
he's just a kid, he won't understand, and obviously they do, so.
Yeah, kids understand a lot more than adults give them credit for.
But then we go to random scene where Toru goes to Kazuma's house and Kagura's hiding from Toru, and,
Mhm.
she's there to see Rin, though, and then when Toru leaves, like, Kagura, like, beats down the door because she's so mad because she's so pathetic.
That's why I loved her outfit, it was so cute.
Yeah, and then it's so funny because Cosmo's like, "Does she love him?" And then she's like, "How would she not love him?" or something like that.
Yeah,
And then he's like, so
Kagura's like the fans right now.
yeah, exactly. Just get together already. So
Yeah, just, like, so that my heart can stop wavering and I have no chance of them.
and he also talks about how the his grandfather had someone that took care of him. Um, and but like when his I don't know if his grandfather died or if it was just
I believe in the manga it said after he died, she said that.
yeah,
I
she
might be wrong.
you're fine. I don't remember, so whatever. Um, she just kind of said like someone asked her like, "Oh, how could you take care of the cat?" You know, without
Have his kids.
yeah, and she was just like, "Oh, I felt sorry for him or something." And yeah,
Yeah. I
so
saw, I honestly I don't know, it's so weird to think about that because would it have been better? I think that she did a good thing in her heart,
hmm
and honestly, I think that even though it was pity, she probably didn't tell him it was that. He probably genuinely felt like he was loved.
yeah,
But
exactly.
it sucks, it's so sad. But
hmm
I think that
Oh,
he was probably better off for having her than having no one.
yeah, yeah. But anyway, then we get to Rin and Toru, and Rin's just asking her like why Kyo, like he's the cat, like are you why did you choose Kyo? And then
Do you pity him?
yeah, and then she pretty much asks that, and while this is going on, Kagura is listening, so uh,
Yeah.
in the back, and pretty much Toru's like no, like like what how she feels for Kyo is so selfish feeling, and how like she says she wants to break the curse for the Somas, but it's just like an excuse because she just wants Kyo. Um,
And a lot of people I saw somebody be like, "Well, yeah, but, Kyo's the one who needs the curse broken the most and stuff, so it
mhm.
makes like, Kyo's gonna be locked up, so it makes sense that she wants to help him the most too." But I think that the way I took the scene was even if Kyo wasn't the cat and somebody else is gonna be locked up, she wouldn't be breaking the curse for them, she'd still be doing it for Kyo.
Yeah, yeah,
And it's, like, her truly, quote, unquote, like, "selfish desire" for him, like, doesn't care if he's the cat, the rat, the dog, like, it doesn't matter to her, she just wants to break it for him.
yeah. I liked how she literally says like, "I don't want the curse or the Somas or anyone else to take him away." So it's like it's mainly just for about him, and it doesn't matter whatever everyone else thinks.
Mhm.
Uh,
So, she seemed really similar to Haru in that scene where Haru was talking about how he just wanted to be with Rin, but he wasn't really thinking about anything else, like, how it could affect her, which she's still thinking about Kyo, but it reminded me of that, how it's like that selfishness because she loves him so much.
yeah, that's a good point. But then we have Kagura come out and slap her.
Yeah. She ran so fast, that part was a little awkward.
Yeah, and she was just like, "Well, why don't you don't tell her, tell him that." And then I'm so
Yeah.
kind of skipped this scene. Again, it was very like taken away kind of Reem's personality because then Reem's all like in the manga, she gets mad at Kagura for slapping Toru.
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Yeah, that would be what she does." And it kinda
Yeah,
makes sense 'cause, like, she was hit as a like, abused, and, like,
yeah.
is like and she literally was like, "What makes you think you're so high up that you can hit someone?" And then they hug and, like, and, like, Kaguya is like, "I'm sorry." And I think that's why
I
people
know, it sucks. I wish that it was still in there.
yeah, that was a really cool scene. I thought, "Oh, I missed that." But, I mean, it's okay, but I was just like, "Oof."
Yeah, it's not like they took out something huge.
So then we get the grandpa still talking to Kyo and, pretty much tells him how she started acting like her dad because she was scared that her mom was gonna leave and never come back, and that
Oh.
she did, she'd get better and stay with her, and even, like, Kyoko left, doesn't really say how long, but so she pretty much left Toru, and that's oh,
Mhm.
and I remember we were talking about this, like, in spoilers once, and how, like, sad that
I know. Like, that's some I love this is, like, one of my favorite parts in the manga.
Mhm.
Not even, like, the Kyoru scenes, but, like, I love those too, but my favorite part is learning about this part of Toru's past,
Yeah,
because it just gives her so much more complexity.
yeah,
Like, she never really I'm sure she is who she is now, and it's genuine, but she never got to form her own personality, really. She formed her personality around the fact that she didn't want her mom to leave her,
mm.
and, she probably acts so good because she's scared, like, if she's not perfect, her mom will leave her, and
Yeah, and
it's so sad.
it's so sad because then, like, yeah, her mom died, like
Yeah!
it's like she did all of this for her mom to, like, stay, and then she just died, and I'm just like, "Ouch." I always I just never really noticed, like, I knew, like, Toru would change the way she talks, or her mom would stay, and I just remember, like, I didn't really notice that her mom, like I remember it now, but I forgot, like, her mom, like, left her there. Like,
Yeah. They
I mean
go into it more in a certain part that people are confused about if it's even gonna be in this new adaptation or not.
yeah, I don't know if it will or not, but we'll see. But oh, and then it talks about a little bit how once Toru started talking like her dad, yeah, Kyoko noticed it, and that we have a little scene of little Kyo and Kyoko, and she's showing a picture of Toru to him, and so one day, like, Kyo went to like check on Toru when Kyoko was working all day, and as a kid, she was just there by herself, and Kyo just said how she always seemed like she was lonely. So then we get the sheet scene. That's what I call it.
The famous sheet scene.
And
It's so good.
it is because it's just like pretty much breaking down Toru's wall. She admits how in her head her dad was the bad guy to her. Like she made her dad the bad guy, even though she knows like he wasn't mean. Um,
Mhm.
and again, it was just because she thought when he died, like her mom was going to be taken away from her, um, and that's when it shows like Toru at the door waiting for her. Oh god.
That's, like, one of the panels even after, like, not reading like, I read the manga and then hadn't read it for years, but I always remember that shot of her sitting at the door saying, "Welcome home."
Yes. And
So sad. Her looking in the mirror, trying to practice saying talking like her dad.
mhm. And then she says how like she's just blaming her dad, um, pretty much. And I just that today I was like, you know how like she hates that she's just using it like she blamed her dad as an like excuse, and
Mhm.
I thought of like how Kyo pretty much like blames you.
Yeah, I realized what you were gonna say in the middle. I'm like, "Oh my god, you're so right. I never thought of that."
I was everyone does that in this show. No, not everyone, but they blame. Well, maybe
Bro, it's so good.
I was like, oh,
Akito does it,
yeah,
Kyo does it, Toru does it,
but so she's like,
Yuki I think Yuki does it to an extent to Kyo.
yeah, an extent. So I was like, oh, there's that again. But pretty much, Toru's like crying and says like that she like starts to say like something like how she feels like stupid or something, and Kyo tells her like, um, you can tell me like whatever, and I won't be disappointed. And then they hug with the sheet between them.
Mm. And it's always so sad to me because like, the sheet hugging scene, it's like it just reminds you how they can with the curse, they just I think at the beginning of the series, it seems like all happy, like, "Oh, they turn into animals when they hug, isn't that quirky?" Then you have these scenes of vulnerability, or, like, how Hiro can't hug his sister, how Kyo and Toru can't really hug each other, and how sad that is. Like,
Yeah.
it's really driven home for me, like, a lot of people I think that see the scene, they're like, "Oh, it's so cute," but I'm just sitting here thinking how sad it is.
And how lonely that is, yeah. And then we have Kagura and Rin and Kazuma again, and pretty much just this Kagura being like, "That was not pity, like, that was Toru got this, I'll leave this to her."
Mm.
But then, oh my gosh, this is the part what threw me for a loop.
Ugh. Yeah,
Uh,
the enemy only.
yes, I was like, "Oh, okay." But, she's Tori's gonna show, Kyo or she shows Kyo her picture of her dad, and, we don't even get to see him, which I don't know why. Like,
Yeah,
'cause
it's just a dude. It's not
I
that special looking.
I, like, make another character design or something.
I can already picture what it'll look like.
Yeah. I always think I was telling my friend, I'm like, "He's kinda like a," I said, "a Hattori Kazuma."
Yeah,
Like,
basically. He's
together.
he's like a less hot Hatori,
I guess.
or a normal dude Hatori.
Anyway, then, like, she remembers actually when he's looking at the picture of, like,
It's so haunting.
yeah, this
Kyoko out of the picture frame and then behind him.
yes, that's scary. I was like, "What?" And then it's
New
like,
tag. I saw on Reddit people were like they're gonna start having to tag the show as a horror.
I know! I thought it went horror all of a sudden too. I was like, that kinda did in a way, but
Yeah.
and then and then he's like, "Are you okay?" And she's like, "Yeah." And then Kyo, like, sees the hat, and I don't so this is the one thing, I don't get what, like, triggered Kyo, but he sees the hat, and then
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Maybe because he knows that it used to be his hat when he was little, when they thought about being
uh
little and Kyoko or something. I'm not sure.
yeah, but he just kinda stands there and he starts flipping out, and, like, she
Oh, I have a theory why it might be the hat. I'll
ooh,
explain it in spoilers though.
okay. So, like, and then it shows, yeah, like, Kyoko covered in blood and him standing above her and, like,
It was so scary.
he
It
like
was way scarier than the manga.
yeah, and then, I liked how, like, Toru, like, dropped her picture, though, and it cracked. Like, it was I thought
There
that was
was yeah, and then it was
really
so chilling in the theme song with the happy music playing, but just the ominous cracked picture frame at the end song. Like,
yes,
it was so good. It's like, it was some Doki Doki Literature Club shit. And, like, the happy music, but something sinister. I don't know if you played that game, but
what you're talking about, yes. So, yeah, they had a little bit of horror at the end there, but I think, like, there's 2 scenes unless they do it, like, next episode, they kinda skipped that I think that was filling in for in a way, like, how they did it, so it kind of makes sense to me later. I was like, "Okay," but oh, and then we also get, like, the whole line of, "I won't forgive you," and that's how
yes,
which is like
I won't forgive you. Da-da-da-da-da.
yeah.
I think my favorite part was just learning, more about Toru as a character, and how why she talks the way she does. Like, I that's so funny because usually most people are like, "I like the hug," or "I like the scary end," but I'm like, "Oh, I like Toru talking like Katsuya part."
No, I like how we got Toru's, like, backstory finally, you know? So alright, so thanks everyone for listening, next week, we'll be talking about episodes 7 or not next week, 2 weeks, we'll be talking about episodes 7 and 8, and yeah, and hope you enjoy listening, and, um, go ahead if you want, like, tell us who you think's gonna win the Hunger Games, because I don't
Yeah, for real, I have no idea. I really hope it's one of my people, though.
and then, yeah, if you wanna follow French Jessica, it's in the description, and you can subscribe to the channel to listen to more. See you guys later. Bye.
Bye.
Okay, so now I can talk about spoilers. Did you have some?
Well, for the hat thing, I was thinking about why it may have triggered Kyo, and
Mhm.
I remember when they go back, they talk about how, Kyo was upset that he couldn't save Toru when she was lost and Yuki did.
Yeah.
Um, so I was thinking maybe he saw the hat and thought about that, and then it made him think about how he also didn't save Kyoko.
Yeah, that could be it. And then, like the whole promise the
Mhm.
of Kyoko.
Yeah, I think that's just a guess. I feel like they kinda made it vague because it's an anime only scene, so they had to think of a way for him to get triggered, and they're like, "Oh, just look at the hat."
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, I always figured that was supposed to be like, the manga he has a nightmare. So like
Mhm.
and it's like that. So I think they just are like, well, instead of like doing this whole scene where Kyo wakes up in his bed and has a nightmare, we're just gonna be like just put it right.
Yeah.
And then when she like drops the picture, and also when like Toru sees her behind, I know when Kyo and Toru are like walking home, like when he like helps her after Sugar Ray thing happened, like she looks behind her and sees like a dead Kyoko like standing there, and then she looks back at Kyo and he's like, "What's wrong?" And she looks back and Kyoko's gone. So I think that
Oh,
kind of
that
like
makes sense.
part just much quicker.
Mm. It was still very effective, though.
Yeah. And then the dropping of the picture, I think was a reference again, and someone said to like way back when they went on their school trip, like when she reached out to Kyo and he was like, "Oh, what's wrong?" or whatever. Um, like in the manga, she like drops the book that has the like picture of her mom in it, and
Hmm.
and then he like picks it up and gives it to her. But it's again just a whole like kind of letting go of her mom kind of thing. So
Mm.
yeah,
I thought oh, no, that was Hero. I was like, "Wait, she dropped it already." And then I was like, "Wait, that was Hero."
no, that was freaking hero.
And she's like, "Mom!"
Oh my gosh.
I mean, what do you think of the adaptation? I know everybody on Twitter is freaking out, like, they're leaving everything out, it's horrible, but I still think it's good.
No, I think it's
I'm
good.
really enjoying it, especially if I just don't think about, like, the manga, it's still, like, amazing.
It actually kind of I liked how it ended, like with me not knowing that, because now I'm like, ooh, what's gonna happen next? Like
Yeah, for real. And then in the did you see the preview images?
yes. So I mean I
No,
know what's gonna happen next, but like
the
I,
knife!
I want to know how they're gonna tell the story like in a different.
Yeah, but I'm, like, I'm confused on how we're already are we already at Kurno getting stabbed?
Yes,
Oh, what? I feel like we should what?
it's either that or they're gonna like do a cliffhanger at the end before he gets stabbed or something. I
I
don't know.
feel like it's so soon.
I know because the thing is, it's like Momiji, where like you show him grown up, and it's supposed to be like 5 chapters later, his curse breaks. Well, this one, it's like the beginning. It's like
Yeah.
oh, and it's the Reen and Shigure talk and Akito box thing, and then like a few chapters later, it's like when Reen gets the box, and then the stabbing happens, and
Yeah.
they're just putting them together again, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to think. I feel like maybe I feel like didn't we learn I feel like the only thing we need before this, I don't didn't we have maybe this happens later, the original actual story of the Zodiac? The cat didn't want to join.
I don't know. I think that
Like when
happened.
they go into how the curse started.
I think that I think that happens later because I haven't seen that.
You know what I'm talking about? Where the cat's like, "No, we shouldn't say bonded. It's unnatural and wrong." And then that's why the cat's cursed and stuff.
I think that's later.
Okay, I'm just making sure because honestly, um, as long as there's nothing that should have that is like imperative that it happens before the stabbing, I don't really mind that it's going quick. Like, I know it sucks when they cut out good scenes, but if they're not really important to the plot, I can look past it, you know?
Exactly.
Like, has there been anything cut that you feel like needs to be in the story? Like, even Kyoko and Katsuya, I feel like the only story relevance it had was Toru's backstory, but they were able to still cover that really well here.
No, yeah, I've thought since like season two, I'm like technically they don't need to do the backstory of like her parents, like they need to do her,
Yeah,
but
it's kinda bad how they romanticize it in the manga anyway.
exactly. I was like, we don't really need that info. Like
Hmm. I think it'd be good to see
we can do
how
like
Kyoko was basically gonna kill herself and, like, leave Toru, but
yeah, no,
and
I
I kinda wish that was there, but I think this is still okay.
I would like that part of it, but that's, like, again,
Yeah, I don't need to see them falling in
that's
love.
like, the part where he's not alive yet, eh.
Yeah. And I really like Kyoko's the young character and stuff. I just don't wanna watch her get with a grown man when she's, like, 14.
Yeah, I know. Uh, but, no, I think so far they haven't really skipped anything that's, like, huge, and then I mean, there's a lot of things they skipped, and it's mainly, like, Yuki and Manabe and Machi stuff, but, like,
Yeah, that's the thing. I feel like the Yuki stuff is a little bit rushed, his romance.
yeah, they're trying to rush his romance, but I'm hoping that, like, maybe like, some people are guessing, but I don't know, like, on Twitter and stuff, that, like, maybe they're, like, saving that for, like, more towards the end so there can be, like, some more softer episodes at the end.
That's weird to me. Don't you usually save the most crazy shit for the end?
Yeah, but I'm like, I don't know, it's just that they were saying.
Like, why would they have all this dark stuff now and then the last episodes are all just happy-go-lucky, you know?
I don't know.
Oh, it's odd. I'm not hating it like some people are, though.
Yeah, no, I'm
I think
still
that people are mostly just scared. And at
yes.
this point, it could be 13 episodes, it could not be. A lot of people like, "It's been confirmed, there's 13 this season," and I'm like, "It's not confirmed, it could go either way."
Yeah, I've never seen it actually confirmed. I can see it being 13 now, how fast they're going, but I mean,
Yeah.
that's
I
okay.
mean, how much real story stuff do we need at this point?
Yeah, we just need to,
Like,
like
if we're really just going plot points, I feel like it could be 13 episodes, but they're just gonna have to skip a lot of stuff, which sucks, but I don't think the whole show will be ruined, you know?
they just need to have everyone's, like, ending stuck in
Mhm.
like, okay.
Yeah, while Toru's just sitting in the hospital.
Yeah. No, people were saying
I reread the end of the manga recently, and I was like, "Wow, this is a lot of content between Toru falling off a cliff and then her meeting up with Kyo again." It's just so much stuff going on.
that was another thing people said. They're like, maybe, like, the stuff that's not happened yet, they'll do, like, when she's supposed to be in the hospital so it feels longer, and I'm like, they freaking made, like, Momiji grow in 2 episodes. I don't think
Yeah.
they care about.
Yeah, I don't think they're gonna bring I think that stuff most of it's just gonna not be in there. 'Cause the time that she's in the hospital is already really long. They don't need to add more stuff to make it feel longer. She's already in there for, like, 6 chapters, I don't know.
Yeah.
The whole time Hana and Uo are not letting Kyo see her.
I'm really excited for that. So my
Yeah, I'm trying to see how intense they make her falling off the cliff.
no, I'm excited for the cliff, and I'm excited I don't know why, but I really like even though I love Kyo, I like the scene where, like, Yuki, like, beats him up and, like
I want sadistic Yugi already.
Yes!
I want where he doesn't give a fuck and he's just rude to everybody
I love that Yuki.
too. He's like the best Yugi.
Alright. I think that's all I have to say.
Yeah.
Alright, so thanks everyone for listening. Next week we'll be talking about episodes 7 or not next week, 2 weeks. We'll be talking about episodes 7 and 8, and yeah, and hope you enjoyed listening, and, um, go ahead if you want, like, tell us who you think's gonna win the Hunger Games, 'cause I don't
Yeah, for real. I have no idea. I really hope it's one of my people though.
and then, yeah, if you wanna follow Francesca, it's in the description, and you can subscribe to the channel to listen to more. See you guys later. Bye.
Bye.